Good morning, students. In my earlier presentation, I have given you a lecture on what is data, what is information, what is database and database management system. Now in today's presentation, I will be explaining you about the advantages of database management system as well as the disadvantages of database management system. So let's start with the advantages of database management system. The first point is centralized management and control over the data. That means with the help of a database management system, you can have a centralized management and control over the data, and that is possible with the role of a DBA. We call him as database administrator, and he is a very important person because it is the DBA who creates users and assigns privileges to them. For example, if you as a user wishes to access a particular database, then you have to be granted certain permission or privilege by the DBA to access that particular database. But if the DBA do not grant you permission or privilege to access a particular database, then you won't be able to access that particular database. So it is the DBA who controls the database from a central place. Then come to the next point, sharing of database and elimination of redundant operation. By redundant operation, we mean duplicate operations. The first point says data stored in database are shared among different applications. Now consider the case of a hotel management system which consists of many sub-applications, like the first application which handles the front desk management, where the customers come to book a hotel room. The second application, say it takes and handles the room service. The third application, say it manages the kitchen. And the fourth application, say it manages the point of sale. Now point of sale is that point where the customers come to book some food items or to buy some food items. Now for these applications to work in tandem with the database, there should not be any redundancy in the database, in the data storage of the database, and as well as there should not be any redundancy while data entry. If there is any redundancy, it should be totally eliminated. As I already told, that redundancy means duplication of data in the database and duplication of data while entry. So if there is any duplication of data in the database, it will lead to the database inconsistency, and as a result, the hotel management system that I was discussing about just now will entirely fail to deliver the service. Then come to the next point, which is security. Only authorized user is allowed to access the relevant data. That means not all users will be allowed to access the data, and the authorized users shall be created by the DBA or the database administrator to access the relevant data. Security of data also addresses the problems related to virus attacks, Trojan horse attacks, or attacks from spywares. Next, let's come to the disadvantages of database management system. Now, in spite of all these advantages that the database management system has in dealing with security, the sharing of database and elimination of redundant operations, and centralized management and control over the data, it also has some disadvantages. The first one is the implementation cost. The first time implementation cost of database related application is very high, because before installing a database related application, there are some prerequisites that you need to install beforehand. Those are the softwares and hardware and the applications. Those are necessary for the running of this database application. So if you add up all this stuff, that is software, hardware, and the necessary application to work with this database related application, the implementation cost will become very high. Then the second disadvantage point is the maintenance cost. Now, even after implementation of database, its maintenance cost is very high. So that means once you have implemented the database application, the maintenance costs come from various factors, such as the day-to-day data entry, the modification of applications, the creation of a database, and from the time to time the backup and recovery task. So all these factors leads to an increased maintenance cost. So these are the disadvantages of the database management system. Now, this table. Now you remember that I have used the word redundancy once while explaining the advantage of database management system, that redundancy should be controlled by the DBMS so that there won't be any inconsistencies in the database. And the meaning of redundancy is duplication of data. There should not be any duplication of data in the database. Now come to this table. The name of this table is classroom, and these are the data items corresponding to this table called classroom. So how many students are there in the class? We have Ram. This is the first Ram, followed by the second Ram. Then we have the student called Astik, Anumita, Hansika, and Manoj. Now just remember that both these students, which are having the same name Ram, are not the same one. They are the different. So the first Ram is identified by the roll number 100, and the second Ram is identified by the roll number 101. So it is the roll number which identifies both these students having the same name called Ram. But if you do not give the distinct values of roll number to identify these two different students having the same name called Ram, then it will refer to the same student, because roll number 100 corresponds to only one particular student with the name Ram. So the other student having the name Ram will not be stored in the database, or it will not be stored in the table inside the database. So as a result, you will miss out the data corresponding to the second student whose name is Ram. This is called as the redundancy. Now, in order to remove the redundancy in the database and to make the database consistent, you have to provide distinct roll numbers to all the students in the classroom. Even if there are two students having the same name, you have to supply a different roll number to them. That's why for the first student with the name Ram, I identify it as roll number 100, and for the second student with the name Ram, I should identify with the roll number 101. As a result, all the students of this classroom are identified by their roll number. So in this way, by providing distinct values of roll number to identify the students of a class, we can eliminate redundancy in the table or in the database. So that's it for today.